The Silent Guide. Chapter 1. The Birth of Shadows. Before the first kingdom rose, before men raised fires to the sky, there was only the deep hush of the primordial night. From that velvet expanse came Nyx, ancient goddess of night, whose veil covered gods and mortals alike. From her womb were born many children, dreams, strife, and whispers that linger in the dark. But among them, two were most closely bound. The first was Somnus, gentle sleep, who wrapped mortals in quiet rest and led them into dreams. He was tender, his touch a balm for aching limbs and weary eyes. Wherever he walked, serenity followed. The second was Mors, his twin, not of rest, but of finality. He emerged silent, draped in shadow, carrying neither flame nor weapon. His eyes reflected eternity, and his hands bore the cool certainty of endings. Where Somnus gave pause, Mors gave closure. The gods of Olympus recoiled at him. "What need have we of this?" they asked. "Sleep is kindness. But this thing is cruel." Yet Nyx only shook her head. "You do not understand. Without Mors, the world would stagnate. Life would cling endlessly to itself, festering, refusing to yield. He is not cruelty, he is balance." And so Mors walked quietly through the edges of existence, shunned but unstoppable. He did not laugh as Dionysus laughed, nor rage as Ars raged. He did not weave as Athena wove, nor charm as Aphrodite charmed. He simply waited, patient as stone, for the day when the first mortal's flame would gutter, and he would be called to fulfill his role. That day was not long in coming. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss more eerie and fascinating tales. Chapter 2. The First Candle. The first mortal to feel Mors' touch was not a king, nor a warrior, nor a poet. He was a shepherd named Theron, a man who lived quietly among the hills, tending his flock beneath the open sky. Theron had no temples raised in his name, no statues carved of his likeness. He was not celebrated, nor reviled. He simply lived, and in that simple living, he grew old. His hair silvered like the frost that touched the meadow grass, and his hands grew gnarled like the roots of an olive tree. One evening, as the sun bled into gold behind the horizon, Theron lay upon the grass, his flock scattered nearby. His breath was thin, his heart slow. A strange calm filled him, though fear lingered like a shadow. It was then that Mors came. He did not descend with thunder. He did not arrive with trumpets or the clash of arms. He appeared as a quiet figure at Theron's side, cloaked in dusk. His presence was not heat nor cold, but the stillness of the world at twilight. Who are you?" Theron whispered, his voice trembling. "I am the one who comes when the flame has burned its last," Mors said. "The one who opens the final door." Theron's eyes watered, not from pain, but from memory. He saw the faces of his children, the laughter of his wife, the hills where he had walked 1,000 times. "Will I see them again?" he asked. Mors tilted his head, and for the briefest moment, his shadow seemed softer. "You will go where all go. Beyond. What lies there, even I do not shape. I only guide." Fear trembled in Theron's chest, but alongside it came release. He had carried burdens, joys, and years upon his shoulders. Now, as the stars pricked the sky above, he let them fall away. Mors extended his hand. Theron took it, surprised at its gentleness. And as his last breath slipped free, the shepherd's spark was carried across the unseen threshold. No gods sang, no crowds mourned. Yet in that moment, the world shifted, for death had entered it. And though mortals would come to dread his name, Mors knew the truth. He had given the shepherd not cruelty, but peace. Chapter 3. The Warrior's End. The world of men grew restless. Villages rose into towns, towns into kingdoms, and kingdoms sharpened their edges against one another. Where ambition and pride met steel, battle followed. And where battle raged, Mors was never far behind. One evening, on a plain slick with blood, a great general lay dying. His armor, once shining, was cracked and torn. His sword, once unyielding, lay snapped at his side. His men had scattered, his banners lay trampled in the mud. The smoke of burning fields choked the air. Mors appeared at his shoulder, quiet as always. The general spat blood and glared at him. "You I know what you are. His voice was ragged, yet still full of command. Do not take me yet. Not while my enemies breathe. Mors said nothing at first. He simply watched as the man tried to rise, only to collapse again, strength draining from him like water from a broken vessel. Was it worth it? Mors asked finally, his tone steady, almost curious. The general's eyes burned with pride. I fought for my people. I carved my name into the bones of the earth. History will remember me. History remembers many, Mors said. But memory does not delay my hand. The man clenched his fists, nails digging into bloodstained soil. Then grant me this. Tell me, did I die with honor? Mors regarded him, silent. For a long time, the only sound was the crackle of fire and the moans of the fallen. Then, softly, he spoke. You died as all do. Some with crowns, some with nothing. But honor, that is not mine to give. It belongs to those who speak your name after you are gone. The general's face twisted. Pride and despair mingled in his fading eyes. He had led armies, conquered cities, bent men to his will. Yet here, at the threshold, he was no greater than the shepherd who had walked before him. As his last breath rattled free, Mors laid a hand upon his chest. The fire in the man's eyes dimmed, leaving behind only stillness. Around them, the battlefield fell quiet, as if the world itself paused to acknowledge the passing of one more life. Mors turned away, neither mourning nor rejoicing. To him, the general was not a tyrant, not a hero, only a soul whose candle had burned to its end. And so he walked onward, into the smoke and silence, as another war raged beyond the horizon. Chapter 4, The Queen's Bargain. In a marble palace that glimmered like frost in the sun, there ruled a queen named Aurelia. Her crown was gold, her throne carved of ivory, and her voice could bend armies to her will. She had outlived 3 husbands, crushed rebellions, and built monuments that reached toward the heavens. But her body, though draped in silks, bore the truth no crown could hide. Her hair thinned, her hands shook, and her eyes dimmed with age. Whispers spread through her court. The queen was dying. When night fell heavy and her courtiers finally left her chambers, Aurelia felt a chill at her bedside. She did not scream when she saw the shadow seated in the corner. She knew who he was. So you have come, she said, her voice brittle but steady. Mors inclined his head. As I come for all. Aurelia's fingers tightened around her sheets. I am not ready. My kingdom still needs me. If I die, vultures will tear it apart. My enemies wait for this moment. Stay your hand, just a little longer. Mors stepped closer, his form like dusk settling across the room. Time is not mine to give. I do not shorten it, nor do I lengthen it. I only arrive when the thread is cut. Her eyes flashed with the stubborn fire that had built an empire. Then take another in my place. A servant, a prisoner, even one of my rivals. Surely a life for a life is fair. Mors' voice carried no judgment, only truth. That is not balance, but theft. I do not bargain. The queen's pride faltered. For the first time in years, her eyes watered. I have built so much. Will it all crumble when I am gone? Mors paused. For a heartbeat, his shadow softened, like twilight breaking into dawn. Stone crumbles. Names fade. But what you have sown in the hearts of your people will remain longer than marble. Her tears spilled freely now, streaking her painted face. She had conquered men, tamed nations, commanded the gods of fortune themselves. Yet she could not command this visitor. Mors reached out, and she, trembling, placed her hand in his. It was not warm, not cold, only inevitable. As the first light of dawn crept through the palace windows, Queen Aurelia's courtiers found her sitting upright, crown upon her brow, her face serene. They whispered of dignity, of majesty and death. But none knew of the bargain she had tried to make, or the shadow who had refused it. Mors walked unseen through the silent halls, leaving the crown behind to rest upon an empty throne. Chapter 5, The Child and the River. The river wound through a quiet valley, its waters silver beneath the moon. Children often played along its banks, their laughter ringing through the reeds. But one summer, the river swelled with rain, and its currents turned swift and treacherous. It was here that Moors came, not to a king or a queen, but to a child. The boy could not have seen more than 7 summers. His hair clung to his face, wet and tangled, as he struggled against the pull of the river. His small arms flailed, his cries swallowed by the rushing water. By the time he reached the shore, his breaths came shallow, each one weaker than the last. When Moors appeared, the boy did not scream. He only blinked through heavy eyelids at the shadow kneeling beside him. "Are you an angel?" the child whispered. Moors tilted his head. "Some call me that. Others call me monster. I am neither." The boy coughed, his tiny chest rattling. "I don't want to leave. Mama will be sad." For a long moment, Moors was silent. He had guided kings, warriors, queens, those who had lived full lives, whose candles had burned bright. But here was a spark so small, so brief, barely lit before it was to be snuffed. Even for one such as him, the weight was heavy. He reached out, his voice softer than moonlight on water. "Your mother will carry your laughter in her heart. It will not fade." Tears welled in the boy's eyes. "Will it hurt?" "No," Moors said. And for once, it was not only truth but kindness. The boy's small hand sought his. Moors took it gently, as if it were made of glass. And when the child's breath slipped away, Moors lifted him, cradling him not as a shadow cradles prey, but as a guardian carries what is precious. As he walked into the night, fireflies rose from the reeds, their tiny lights flickering in the dark. To those who saw them, they were only insects dancing in the warm air. But Moors knew better. They were a reminder. Even the briefest flame can shine, and in shining, be remembered. Chapter 6, The Trickster's Game. Not all mortals feared Moors. Some mocked him, some cursed him, and a rare few even tried to cheat him. Among these was Damon the trickster, a man whose clever tongue and quick hands had earned him both riches and enemies. Damon was no warrior, no noble. He lived by deception, dice loaded with lead, contracts written in vanishing ink, promises as hollow as reeds. The gods themselves laughed at his audacity, for he stole offerings from temples and claimed them as his own. But when fever struck him down, and his body weakened, Damon saw the shadow at the edge of his bed. "Moors," he wheezed with a sly grin. "I thought you were taller." Moors stood silent, unamused. "You've come to take me, have you?" Damon coughed. "Well, you'll find I'm not so easy to carry off. Play a game with me, dice, cards, riddles, anything you like. If you win, I'll come quietly. If I win, you must leave me be." Moors regarded him for a long moment. He did not play games. He did not gamble. Yet something in the man's audacity stirred a faint echo of curiosity. "Very well," Moors said. "A riddle." Damon's eyes lit with delight. "Ask it, Shadow." Moors spoke. "I am always coming, yet never arrive. I devour kings and beggars alike. No fortress can bar me, no blade can wound me. What am I?" Damon smirked. "That's too easy, it's time." Moors' expression did not change. "No." Damon frowned. "Then, fate." "No." The trickster's grin faltered. Sweat beaded on his brow. He tried again and again, naming gods, storms, hunger, fire. Each time, Moors simply said, "No." At last, Damon's breath rattled, and the grin slipped from his lips. "Then tell me, Shadow, what answer did you want?" Moors bent close, his voice low as midnight. "The answer is me." And with that, Damon's final laugh died in his throat, his game lost before it began. When his body was found the next morning, a set of dice lay in his palm, both showing snake eyes. Chapter 7, The City of Plague. The city of Kavsus had once been full of life. Its markets bustled with voices, its temples rang with song, its streets smelled of bread and wine. But when the plague came, the city changed. Windows shuttered, bells tolled endlessly, and smoke from funeral pyres curled above the rooftops like black wreaths. Moors walked its streets unseen, his shadow stretched across every doorstep. Unlike the battlefield, where death came swiftly, here it crept slow and merciless, stealing into homes and cradles alike. In one house, he knelt beside a mother who clutched her fevered child. Her lips whispered desperate prayers to Apollo, to Asclepius, to any god who might bargain for her daughter's breath. But when the child's cough rattled into silence, it was More's hand that closed her eyes. In another, he found an old healer. The man's herbs and charms littered the floor, his hands stained from tending the sick. Though his body trembled with infection, he still whispered comfort to the dying around him. When his own chest grew still, More's lifted him gently, as if honoring a warrior fallen in battle. And still, there were the bitter ones. A merchant spat curses at the gods with his last breath, furious that his wealth could not bribe the shadow that stood beside him. His gold lay piled around him, untouched. More's did not even glance at it. Through alleys and palaces alike, More's walked. He did not tire, he did not falter. Yet even he felt the heaviness of so many candles sputtering all at once. The city's silence was deafening, broken only by the crackle of pyres. At the heart of Kavsu stood its grand square, once filled with laughter. Now it was lined with bodies, waiting for fire. More's paused there, the weight of thousands pressing upon him. If he were a man, he might have wept. But he was not. Instead, he lifted his hand, and for a moment, the air stilled. The moon broke through the smoke, silver light bathing the square. Those who looked up from their grief felt, just for a breath, that their loved ones had not vanished into nothing. That something, someone, had carried them beyond. And then More's was gone, his shadow moving on, leaving Kavsu's to rebuild in the quiet aftermath. Chapter 8. The Poet's Gift. In a village nestled between rolling hills and the silver bend of a river, there lived a poet named Erindor. He was old, bent with years, but his mind still shimmered with verse. His words could stir hearts, turn sorrow into song, and capture the fleeting beauty of life. When illness claimed him, he did not cry or curse. Instead, he called softly to More's, who appeared at the edge of his candlelit chamber. "You come for me," Erindor said, his voice gentle, almost curious. "And yet, I am not afraid." More's did not speak. He simply waited, as always. Erindor smiled. "Then perhaps you can help me leave something behind." He reached for parchment and quill, his fingers shaking. "I want my last words to carry light, even after I am gone. Will you watch, Shadow?" More's inclined his head. And so the poet wrote. Verse poured from him like sunlight through autumn leaves, capturing love, loss, laughter, and grief. He wrote of children he had known, of lovers he had lost, of the hills where he had once danced with wind and rain. By the time the quill fell from his hand, the poet's breath was shallow. More's knelt beside him, lifting him with the same quiet gentleness he had shown to the child by the river. "Will anyone remember?" Erindor whispered. "They will," More's said. "Even if the world forgets, your words will endure in hearts and in dreams. That is their immortality." And as the poet's spirit left him, More's carried it beyond the veil. When villagers later discovered the pages, they wept, laughed, and recited his verses for years. The words became a kind of defiance, proof that life, though fleeting, left ripples that even death could not erase. More's walked away silently, knowing that even he, the eternal guide, could be a witness to beauty. Chapter 9. The Mirror of the Gods. In the marble halls of Olympus, where golden light kissed stone and the air hummed with the voices of immortals, More's was seldom welcome. Gods whispered of him in fear or disdain. Yet tonight, he walked unbidden, summoned by none, yet drawn to a council of the divine. Mars, god of war, scowled at his presence. "You tread where only victory and valor should reign. Why are you here, Shadow?" "Because every war ends," More's replied simply. Venus, goddess of love, tilted her head, eyes soft but wary. "Do you understand our work, death? You take what we create, extinguish what we cherish." More's did not answer immediately. Instead, he allowed silence to fall, heavier than any storm. When he spoke, it was not accusation, only reflection. "I do not create, nor do I destroy in anger. I am the measure, the boundary. Life stretches between my fingers like a river. I do not choose who flows longer, nor who is swept away first. I merely guide each soul when its candle burns low." Somnus, his twin, spoke then, voice like sighing wind. "And yet they fear you. They whisper prayers, bribe priests, cheat fate itself, all to delay you. More's gaze softened, not for mortals, but for the cosmic balance. Fear is a part of living. Without it, joy is hollow. Love, fleeting. Even sorrow loses its shape. My presence gives meaning to their struggle, their laughter, their tears. Ars growled. And if they try to defy you? More's shadow stretched across the marble floor. Defiance is as fleeting as a candle's flicker. All must come in time. Even gods cannot stop the tide. I do not punish. I do not reward. I simply wait, patient as stone, eternal as night. The gods fell silent, each contemplating the truth that had always eluded them. Death was neither enemy nor servant, neither cruel nor kind, only inevitable. Even Olympus, eternal as it seemed, acknowledged it quietly, unwilling to speak it aloud. Mors turned then, gliding through the golden halls, leaving the immortals to their reflections. In the vast tapestry of the cosmos, he was the thread that held endings together, unseen yet indispensable. Chapter 10. The Eternal Guide. The world had changed countless times. Empires rose and fell, rivers carved new valleys, forests swallowed villages, and mountains crumbled into dust. Through it all, Mors walked silently, unseen yet ever present, carrying the flickering sparks of mortal lives beyond the reach of time. He had guided shepherds, warriors, queens, children, tricksters, poets, and entire cities. He had witnessed joy, terror, love, and sorrow, the full spectrum of life in all its fleeting glory. Yet in his endless journey, he felt neither loneliness nor triumph. He simply was. One evening, Mors paused on a hill overlooking a quiet village. Smoke curled from chimneys, and the laughter of children echoed faintly in the wind. A single candle burned in a window, its light small yet stubborn against the dark. He knelt for a moment, not out of sentiment, but recognition. Every life he had guided, every spark he had carried beyond, was part of the vast mosaic of existence. Each death had been a thread, woven carefully into the greater tapestry. "Do they ever understand me?" he whispered to the night, though no one answered. Somnus appeared beside him, draped in his usual gentle twilight. "Some will," his twin said. "But understanding is not required. Only the living must learn to live well while they may." Mors nodded. His shadow stretched long across the grass, merging with the night. In the silence, he felt neither sorrow nor joy, only the quiet certainty of his role. Without him, life would linger too long, chaos unchecked. With him, each ending became a beginning for the next, and every loss gave meaning to what remained. He rose and began walking again, the wind brushing past like a whisper. Mountains, rivers, forests, and cities lay ahead, each holding countless candles that would one day flicker and fade. Mors would meet them all, neither hurried nor delayed, the eternal guide to all mortal endings. And so, through the endless night and the cycles of time, Mors walked on, silent, impartial, yet forever present, the shadow at the edge of every life, the quiet hand that carried all things to their rest. The world slept, dreamed, fought, loved, and wept, and always, Mors waited.